What if one failure could decide not just your future, but the future of the little soul who depends on you? What if the door that's shut in your face wasn't really closed, but someone followed you out with a decision that could change your life forever? This is the story of a father who carried the weight of his daughter's dreams, a man who thought he had lost everything, and the woman who saw something no summer could ever show. Stay with me till the end, because what happens outside that interview room will leave you believing in second chances, in kindness, and in the power of never giving up. If this story touched your heart, show your love, like, share and comment your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. Ethan Miller adjusted his worn-out navy blue shirt one last time before stepping into the tall glass building. The morning air still clung to his collar, but his palms were already damp with nerves. He had rehearsed answers in front of a cracked mirror at home, his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, peeking in and whispering, "Daddy, you're going to get this job. I know it." Those words echoed in his mind as he sat in the waiting area among men in expensive suits and polished shoes. Ethan had been out of work for nearly a year. Since his wife's passing 2 years ago, raising Lily had been both his greatest blessing and his hardest battle. Every night he promised her that tomorrow would be brighter, that he would find a job, that she wouldn't have to see him counting pennies to pay for her school lunch. Today felt like his chance. The receptionist finally called his name. He stood, clutching his folder, the corners bent, some printed at a cheap copy shop. Inside the interview room, 3 people sat behind a long table. At the center was a woman in her mid-30s, poised and confident, her white suit crisp against the dark interior. Her nameplate read Olivia Carter, Head of Human Resources. Her expression was unreadable, the kind of face that could decide destinies with a glance. "Mr. Miller, please take a seat," she said calmly. Ethan's throat was dry, but he forced a smile. He answered their questions honestly, though nerves tangled his words. When asked about his previous work, he spoke of the construction company that had shut down during the pandemic. When asked about leadership, he described how he had led a small team through difficult projects, even working nights to keep deadlines. But when they pressed him about why there was a long gap in his employment, his voice cracked. "I've been taking care of my daughter," he admitted softly. "She's 6. It's just been me since her mother passed." A flicker of something crossed Olivia's eyes, but she didn't respond. The other 2 interviewers scribbled notes, exchanged glances, and continued. Ethan felt his chances slipping like sand through his fingers. By the end, he knew. Their polite nods, the rehearsed thank you. It was the same rejection wrapped in formal words he had heard too many times. He stood, shook their hands, and walked out with his head heavy. Outside, he stopped by the large glass doors. In his hand was the little paper Lily had given him before leaving for school that morning. A hand-drawn smiley face and the words in her messy handwriting, "Good luck, Daddy Bon." Ethan squeezed it, his eyes burning. He had promised her ice cream if he got the job. How could he walk home now and tell her he had failed again? He stepped out into the street, shoulders slumped, the weight of disappointment pressing harder than ever. He thought of Lily's laughter, her bright eyes waiting at the window every evening. The thought of letting her down cut deeper than anything else. As he walked away from the building, footsteps echoed behind him. At first he ignored them, lost in thought. But then he heard a woman's voice. "Mr. Miller, wait." Ethan turned slowly. It was Olivia Carter, the interviewer. She had left the panel, left the glass walls, and followed him into the open air. Her heels clicked against the pavement as she approached. His heart raced. Why was she here? Her eyes softened as she looked at the crumpled paper in his hand. "I saw that note," she said gently. "Is it from your daughter?" Ethan nodded, too choked up to speak. "I need to talk to you," Olivia said, her tone carrying something that was neither rejection nor acceptance, but something entirely unexpected. And in that moment, Ethan realized, maybe the interview wasn't over after all. Ethan stood frozen on the sidewalk, still gripping Lily's little note as Olivia came closer. The street was busy, cars rushing past, people hurrying with coffee cups and briefcases. But in that moment, everything seemed to quiet down. Olivia stopped just a step away from him, her expression no longer the composed mask of an interviewer, but something more human, more vulnerable. "I could see you were nervous in there," she said softly, "and maybe you didn't give the sharpest answers. But I also saw a father who's been fighting for his daughter's future. That speaks louder than any RA. Ethan swallowed hard, his voice low. I've failed too many times already. I can't keep telling her I'll do better tomorrow, when tomorrow keeps ending like this. Olivia studied him for a moment. Do you know why I followed you out? She asked. He shook his head. Because I was raised by a single father too, she said, her voice steady but threaded with emotion. I remember what it was like watching him come home after rejection after rejection. I know the look you just had walking out of that building. I know the weight you're carrying. Ethan's eyes widened slightly. For the first time that day, he felt someone truly understood. She continued, I couldn't let you walk away thinking that failure defines you. Your daughter already believes in you, and I think she's right. Her words struck him deep. For months, he had carried the shame of unemployment like a shadow, but here was someone in power, someone who had the authority to dismiss him, saying she saw something else in him. But, Olivia added, you'll have to prove yourself, not in words, in action. I can't offer you the manager position you applied for. It requires certifications and experience you don't have yet. But I can offer you a starting role in our operations team. It's not glamorous, but it's steady, it pays well, and it gives you a path upward. Ethan blinked, struggling to find words. You'd really give me that chance. Olivia smiled faintly. I'm not giving it to you, Mr. Miller. You've already earned it. By walking into that room despite everything, by showing up for your daughter every day, that's the kind of commitment companies need. And frankly, it's the kind of strength people like me respect. Ethan's chest tightened, not with fear this time, but with something warmer. Hope. That evening, Ethan walked home with a small paper bag of ice cream cones, 2 flavors, one for Lily and one for himself. When he pushed open the door, Lily ran to him, her pigtails bouncing, her smile brighter than the setting sun. Daddy, how was it? She asked eagerly. He knelt down, placed the ice cream in her hands, and pulled out the crumpled note she had given him that morning. You see this? He whispered. Your good luck worked. I didn't get the big job I wanted, but I got something even better. A chance. A real chance. Lily's small arms wrapped tightly around his neck. I knew it. I told you, Daddy. You're the best. Tears stung his eyes as he hugged her back, whispering into her hair, I'm doing all this for you, sweetheart. And we're going to make it. Together. Weeks passed, and Ethan started at the company. It wasn't easy. The hours were long, and he often returned home exhausted. But every night, Lily would wait for him at the window, waving with that same smile that gave him strength. Slowly, he proved himself, moving from task to task with determination. His colleagues began to notice, and so did Olivia. One afternoon, months later, Olivia stopped by his desk. Mr. Miller, she said with a knowing smile. You've come a long way. Are you ready for the next step? Ethan looked up, his heart swelling. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man defined by failure. He felt like a father building a future worth believing in. And so, the man who once walked out of a failed interview with nothing but his daughter's note in hand discovered that sometimes life doesn't end at rejection. Sometimes, the real story begins when someone sees the strength you don't see in yourself. Because second chances aren't just about jobs. They're about people, love, and the courage to keep going when the world tells you to stop. No failure is final, no rejection is the end. Sometimes, it takes just one person to believe in you. But more importantly, you have to keep showing up for the ones who already do.